Dorsey, who is everywhere. Stadium, Bali, Apple. Happy belated birthday, Russ.
You know, inflation the way it is, you got to keep a job or two. You know how it goes.
It's true. I've seen those grocery prices. Oh God. How do people have multiple kids? AJ?
It's
Okay.
I have multiple kids. The problem is when I go out to eat with Russ, he never pays, so it only inflate. The only
That's
inflation is
not
on my end.
True.
Wow.
Are you going to continue to come on your platform, AJ, and lie to the people?
I don't lie.
No.
You don't
Get it
truth.
straight, Russ. Get it straight, Russ. Tell him.
You don't truth. Todd, you let this dude do this to you?
No, never.
Todd won't go to dinner with me. Todd won't go to dinner with me.
Sorry, I gotta go. I gotta go.
Business
No
expense.
kids.
Oh God.
Russ, how about them Bears? 5 and 8, they're coming.
Hey, you see the in the hunt column now? The beloved right there on the side. Who would have thought? Lose your first 4 games and then 5 and 8. Everybody is saying, "Oh my God, they could." No, they can't. They can't.
They're just teasing you. They're just teasing you.
But in the hunt, though, we should get in the hunt T-shirts.
Yes,
Russ, I want to talk. That's in the hunt. I remember. It's just funny because why do they even put those teams there? It never really happens.
No, you're not gonna make it.
Just to tease you. Let me ask you this. I want to get back to baseball here. I love your tweet the other day about Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman. We're all there, and Shohei. We're all there for the Yamamoto talks, and when their representatives are there, I think that is a monster move. I absolutely love that move. To be honest, I mean, talk about putting a little pressure on somebody to come over and play for the squad. Three or four of some of the best baseball players. Dodgers are changing the game here, man, with everything. Talk to us about that and just explain to us how that's such a gutsy move right there.
Yeah, so on Tuesday, I had reported that the meeting was going to happen. And at that time, I didn't know all the guys who were going to be there yet. Knew a few, was trying to get a couple of confirmations, waiting to report. Ken and Fobs got me. Shout out to those guys. They sometimes you get beat. But to your point, Todd, I think when you land the big guy in Shohei Ohtani, I think for any team, this is kind of what you were hoping for because you would probably have the inside track to a guy like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right? To be able to say, all right, we got our 3 MVPs that we can bring to this meeting, his potential backstop and Will Smith, maybe a couple more guys in there, Andrew Friedman, front office, Dave Roberts, who was already in there with Shohei Ohtani. And it's a great pitch. Southern California, it sells itself, and then to be able to have some of the best players in the world, including Shohei Ohtani, saying, hey, man, I came over here for a reason. You want to compete for the next 10 years for World Series titles, come on over to the Dodgers. So I think for the Dodgers, this is what they wanted. They've been thinking about this for the last 2 seasons, kind of clearing the deck for Shohei, able to land Shohei and then say, all right, with the way we have things working for us in our favor right now, with the way the money is going to work out over the next 10 years, we can go out and get a guy like a Tyler Glasnow, right? You can go and say, we're still on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, because last week I had reported at the winter meetings that while they were still chasing Shohei, who was their primary target, they were still in on Dylan Cease, right? They're still in on Yamamoto. They're still in on a guy like a Josh Hader for their bullpen. So it's a good spot to be in if you're Andrew Friedman, where you could say, look, I have all my irons in the fire, and I expect that I'm going to get 2, maybe even 3 of those targets.
So I just got a text here. The Phillies are meeting them. So Bryce Harper is going to be on that meeting. Real Muto, all the big guys. I mean,
if the Dodgers are bringing out their big dogs, you got to bring out your big dogs.
Why wouldn't any other team do this? I think this is such a smart move. I think what happens if that does? I mean, this is crazy. You don't see this stuff happening all the time. And I was saying it before. This is why this free agency is so cool. You got some big names, and we don't know where they're going. They're meeting with people. Money's being deferred like we've never seen before. Like, this is unbelievable.
It reminds me, Todd, of basketball, right? And I think NBA's free agency is the best in all of sports because you have these free agents that you have the recruiting team, like who's there. I remember when I was a kid and LeBron James, before he went to Miami, was like, ooh, could LeBron come to the Bulls? Is D-Rose going to be in that meeting? And now you're seeing it in baseball where it's like, all right, if the Dodgers got Mookie and Freddie Freeman, and they got Shohei in there. All right, Bryce, you go fly in. JT, we need you in here. Aaron Nola, we need you in here. Right, maybe get Miles Teller in there to be in that meeting. Like, get anybody you can. Jason Kelsey, somebody to help us land these marquee free agents.
Russ, I was part of that LeBron thing with the White Sox. They came to us and asked us to do.
You failed.
I mean, we were like, come to Chicago. We were all dressed up like White Sox, and they put it like in a video. And I mean, it wasn't like I was in on the meeting. I was the third person from the right on the decision, Russ. So he looked right at me. He was like, "Yeah, we're not going to Chicago. I'm going to Miami."
Paul Konerko, Joe Creedy, y'all failed in bringing LeBron here.
Hey, we got Jimmy Butler there, and you guys traded him. What do you want me to do? But let's go to another Chicago loser franchise, the Cubs. Your favorites.
I don't have a favorite. Stop saying that.
Why have they done nothing? Why have they not done anything at all this offseason? They were supposed to be in on Ohtani. They're supposed to be in on this guy and that guy. And we keep hearing Bellinger and this and that, but they have done absolutely zero this offseason.
It's interesting because they kind of set the tone for the offseason, right? You make the move away from David Ross. You hire Craig Counsell to be your manager. And we came on here and talked about it right after. Like, okay, the Cubs are saying, we're not playing games anymore. We're in our window. And then it's been crickets over there on the north side so far. Obviously, they were a player for Ohtani early. You heard their name a lot in the Yamamoto talks, but that's kind of quieted here as of late. And now you look at it and say, is their big move re-signing Cody Bellinger? And I think a lot of Cubs fans here, and who are often in my DMs and mentions like, why aren't the Cubs doing anything? I think when you take a look at the guy running things in Jed Hoyer, he was in Chicago as a GM with Theo Epstein, his guy, when he was president of baseball operations, and they did throw money at a lot of different things, and they won a World Series. But then you look at the years that followed that, and I think a lot of people said, okay, this should last for a while, and it didn't. And because of that, I think Jed goes into this now that he's the president and says, I want to build this thing the right way. And maybe we can't, go out and get the big free agent every offseason. And I know a lot of people say you should because you're Chicago Cubs. And I think there is some truth to that. But to be able to be methodical in building your franchise and building your farm system so that you have sustained success, I don't think there is bad logic in that. But I think people here in Chicago want to see the Cubs be at the big kids table again.
The Chicago Cubs.
Russ's favorite team.
I mean,
Russ isn't going to come back on here if you keep saying.
Yeah,
oh, he has to. He doesn't have a choice. He has to.
No,
you say that you're my friend, AJ. You say you're my friend, yet you come on here. Your friend's a national reporter, and you say he has a favorite team. It's not the case.
Hey, I'm a national reporter, and people say I have 29 favorite teams. I hate their team.
Listen, anyway, to Britt's point about the Chicago Cubs, I think she made all the right points. You like the hand motions. I know you do.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I think for the Chicago Cubs, to Britt's point, it is a bad market, especially for position players. And I think for them, unlike the last 4 or 5 years when we've seen absolute monsters on the free agent market, they have to decide if the guy that they made the correct bet on in Cody Bellinger is the guy they want to give $275 million to, right? That's a question that they, Carter Hawkins and Jed Hoyer have to ask themselves. Also, they've been able to fill up their farm system over the last 3 years. So maybe they're a team that's going to have to find their needs in the trade market. I think that's something that's possible as well. So to go to the other side, to the Chicago White Sox, as I mentioned before, they were a team that was talking to the Dodgers about Dylan Cease at the winter meetings last week. Now, obviously, it didn't materialize, but they were at least engaged. And I think for the White Sox, we're talking about dominoes, right? It's something that everybody talked about throughout the offseason until Shohei signed, then you'd get a Yamamoto signing, and then Blake Snell, and then Glasnow, and then Dylan Cease. And I think for the White Sox, it's what do you want? And from everything I've been told over the last 2 weeks or so, it's pitching for the Chicago White Sox. They don't have enough young starting pitching. And so in any move for Dylan Cease, who's a guy with a couple years of club control left, that's what the White Sox are going to be looking for. And I think now that you've had the domino of Tyler Glasnow now fall as well, I think after Yamamoto signs, I don't think, Blake Snell will stop them from being engaged with teams in the trade market.
Interesting. I mean,
who's more valuable?
Yeah,
Burns or Cease? Because those are the two names for trades, right?
Yeah.
Burns and Cease are the two big names. So who's more valuable?
Ooh.
Cease to me because of the club control. Right. I think if you're a team that's going in on Corbin Burns, you're probably in your winning window and say, all right, let's hit on this season, try to convince him to stay, and hopefully have him re-sign in free, after the season ends in free agency. I think for Dylan Cease, to Bridge Point, a team like the Baltimore Orioles, right? That seems like the perfect fit for a guy that could be at the top of your rotation, change of scenery guy. It's a guy that we've seen, be a runner-up for the AL Cy Young Award and has maybe the nastiest stuff in the big league. So I think Chris Getz is going to be, his phone's been ringing off the hook, and I think it will continue until they decide they have the right move for Cease.
I just think, honestly, after all is said and done, once Yamamoto goes, these other teams, if they don't do, whether they do something or not, it's not even going to be that big. It's like, all right, well, we got this guy, but we could have gotten this guy. I don't know, this Cubs, the Red Sox, I mean, the Orioles. I'm just thinking of teams that I don't think it's ever going to be enough for the team, for the fan base, for the city as of right now, considering what's been going on.
And listen to those teams you just listed, Ty. You're talking about huge monster markets, Boston, Chicago. Like, these are teams that should be involved with names like the Dodgers. I think a team that I'm also interested in that we talk about the AL East is the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Yeah. I'm so curious as to what they look like. Like, they were a team last week at the winter meetings. They were in on everybody. If you talk to somebody, you're like, yo, Blue Jays are in. But now that you don't land Shohei, right, and you don't land Juan Soto, what is their backup plan? Because they're a team that's kind of always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Like, they remind me of the Buffalo Bills in that we continue to think that they're going to be here, yet when the season's over, they're more down here. And so what's that move for the Blue Jays that takes them to that level and those expectations where we thought they would be at?
Hey, so real quick, last thing for me, your birthday just happened. How old are you?
29.
Stop it.
29.
You're only 29 years old, man. God, I thought you were like 35, 36. My bad, dog. My bad.
No. It's crazy. So I was in 5th grade when AJ and those boys won the World Series.
Damn. Nice.
Wow.
Nice. Smart man. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Well, thanks so much, Russ.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you.